You say so. Hey, here we are. Hey, everybody. I'm Dan. This is the lovely Matilda. And here we are. It is Friday night. It is April 26th at 6:30. What does that mean?
It's time for Spirit of Science.
The spirit of science. And I said silence, it sounded like, I think. I said that spirit of science, not silence. But hey, everybody, how's everybody doing? Thanks for tuning in tonight. Ashley, don't you want to say hello
Hi,
to Ashley? Hi, Ashley. And
fellow volunteer here.
that's right. Hey, Ed.
Thanks
And
for coming, Ashley.
this is our 3000th show that we've done here at the Merchant's House. We're doing a show tonight. We're going to be talking about Ed and Lorraine Warren, who are paranormal investigating royalty.
Yeah.
But before we get started with that, we're going to start the way we always start. We're going to pitch you guys to support the Merchant's House Museum. Now, we don't have to give us any money if you don't want to. It'd be great if you did, but not necessary. What we need you to do, we need you to go to the Merchant's House website and sign well, it's a letter that's going to be sent, but it takes about 30 seconds. You just have to give your email address. The letter's already written, and it shoots it over to the Mayor Adams. And not that he's not busy today, but and what that is going to do is going to help protect the Merchant's House, because there are evil developers who want to put a hotel right next to us. I'm pointing in your face. I apologize. Right to the right of Matilda, and they want to put up an 8-story hotel, which would be catastrophic to the future of the Merchant's House. Everything you see here at the Merchant's House, it's all original from 1832. The house was built, and look at, tell me if I'm pointing at the right stuff, Matilda.
The plaster work.
Yeah, the plaster work. Look at how beautiful. All this stuff is original to the house. Original to the house. And in here, all the plaster work, that's all hand done in place in the 1830s. In the 1830s. Now, if they did some construction according to some structural engineers and architects and super smart people, all of the work being done next door would cause all this plaster to just fall down, and it would be a nightmare. If they want to build this hotel next to us, we would have to take all the artifacts out. And I think there's something like 3,000 artifacts that would have to be removed and put in storage and removed very carefully. Everything's original to the house. This stuff is all this table's from 1830s, from the 1830s. These are the cups that they drank out of. And who knows, those pies might even be original pies. We don't know. But the grapes, I'm going to tell you guys, the grapes aren't real. And Matilda's been eating them all night long. That's how we know that it's not real. But now, that being said, again, we appreciate you guys tuning in. It's a big help to the Merchant's House, even just by tuning in and getting the word out there. So go to the Merchant's House website, which is merchantshouse.org, and you'll be able to navigate your way through that and find that letter. It's be easy breezy, and you'll be doing a big favor to everybody at the house. So we're going to end that there.
Well, I wanted to say one thing.
Sorry.
Actually, I led a tour today, and I was talking to the people on my tour about this. You know, although the Landmarks Preservation Commission has voted to okay the construction, this building is not going to serve the community. The community is against it. We don't need another hotel / office building. We don't need any more development in this part of the city. So if you live in New York City and you're tired of developers coming in and changing the face of your neighborhood where you live and doing something that does not benefit you, doesn't benefit your neighbors, you need to lend your voice to this cause, because it's not as though this is going to be an asset to the community. The community board doesn't want it. They voted it down. The community as a whole is totally against it. So you will not only be helping us, but you'll also be standing up for every single community in New York City that is trying to resist development.
Right. Yeah, we don't need another hotel. There's too many people in the city. We love the tourists coming in, but slow it down a little bit, just a little bit. And if you are in the city,
all the empty hotel rooms in the city. Why?
Hotel rooms are like $500 a night. It's ridiculous.
I know, but how much do you think this is not going to be?
It's gonna be like that too. It's gonna be like that too. Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, Well, you know what's not $500 a night? Coming to the merchant's house
That's
and
right.
taking a tour. How much of the tours here?
The
Is it
guided
pay what
tour
you
is
can?
20, the guided
Oh,
tour is
$20?
$20 and self-guided is $15.
Oh, look at that. Cool.
Cheap.
And then in the fall, there are lots of things going on here at the Merchant's House, including the big Halloween haunted
Yeah.
ghost tours, which
Yep.
sell out in the summer. So if you want to, I don't know if they've listed them yet. I don't even know
Not
if they have the
yet,
date
not
yet.
yet.
But you know, we'll keep you posted on that because you really have to get your name in there soon. They turn people away every year, lots of people. So yeah, just be aware of that and we'll keep you posted.
Yeah.
Um,
Some special tours with Dan also.
yeah, we're gonna do some tours. I do tour. I've been doing tours here every Halloween for 15 years or so. And so yeah, lots of stuff going on and you guys should be involved.
Yes.
Especially you, Ashley. Well, Ashley
Ashley,
is. Yeah, okay.
She is a ghost tour
She
guide.
is. She's cool, yeah. I think I've been around with Ashley.
You have.
Yeah.
Yes, because Ashley, didn't you go on the tour that Dan and I did? Weren't you one of the backup people, not last year, but the year before? I think Ashley was like, assisted us on a tour that we did.
She thinks so.
Yep.
Yeah, all right, cool. Thanks, Ash. And all right, well, let's get going with the show because the
Okay.
quicker we get this done, the quicker we're out of here on a Friday night.
That's
What do you
right.
say?
Yeah.
So all right, well, here he is. I've been doing Dan a bunch. Thanks, Ashley. Okay, so Ed and Lorraine Warren. Ed and Lorraine Warren are, if you're a paranormal person, if you're into the paranormal, if you're a paranormal investigator, whatever the case, you have come across Ed and Lorraine Warren's name. I'm certain of it. And if you don't think you have been influenced by them. They have a lot of movies out now. The Conjuring
The
movies.
Conjuring series is all about Ed and Lorraine Warren. And if you know anything about the Amityville Horror, if you ever even heard the story of the Amityville Horror, you will know of the Warrens because they were deeply involved in that too.
Yeah, and they were the first, I believe, investigators to go into the Amityville Horror. But you know, just to start with Ed and Lorraine, they were born. Ed was born in late 1926. And well, yeah, I think it's in September of 1926, and Lorraine, I believe, was born in 1927, early 1927. And they got together at an early age. I believe that they were teenagers.
They went to high school together.
Oh yeah, all right. Oh, cool. They went to high school
Yeah.
together, and then Ed went into the service, into the Navy when he was 17. I believe he got permission from his parents and was able to go in. And then he, you know, he did not have an easy time in World War II in the Navy. One of the ships that he was on sank, and you know they had to swim for their life in the Atlantic Ocean, I believe. So yeah, it was a traumatic experience for him. I mean, he survived, and as a survivor, I guess back then they got a month leave if you survived something, and he came home to his beloved Lorraine at 17 years old, proposed, and they got married. And they had their wedding. They had their wedding night. And the next day, he went back to the Navy. So so they were, you know, I guess the perfect couple for a long time. They were married. Who knows how long? Ed, I believe, was 79 when he passed away. So they were together a good long time, and they made a great team. They began exploring. Ed was always involved. He was always interested in paranormal, probably like, you know, every paranormal investigator out there. They got into this when they were young and just continued to learn and grow. And eventually Ed considered himself a demonologist. Now, I don't consider anybody
a
self-educated demonologist. And, you know, I got no problem. I call myself a paranormal investigator, and I'm sure a lot of paranormal investigators would look at me and go, no, you're not. But Ed considered himself a demonologist, and Lorraine was a psychic medium, although she preferred to say that she was clairvoyant.
She was clairvoyant, actually. I mean, you know, we're going to get into like all of the controversies about the Warrens, but Lorraine actually had her abilities tested by someone who is considered legit and was actually found to be clairvoyant.
Yeah, she was found, the information that she was gleaning from somewhere um, they found that to be a higher percentage than chance.
Mm-hmm.
So she was getting, more right than wrong.
Right.
And that made her feel great. That sort of validated her, because I'm sure a lot of people back in the early 70s, they were very, very popular in the early 70s. And I'm sure back then there were a lot of people really skeptical, and this validated it for her. I'm sure skeptics wouldn't have put any kind of salt to her testing, but for her, it made her feel validated. So I'm sure it gave her a lot of confidence to continue what she was doing. Um, what else do we want to talk about in the early times for them? Ed began, when he was around 5 years old, he said, and he was very, very interested in hauntings. And Ed was also an artist.
Mm-hmm.
He was a painter. And if he heard, this is the sort of thing that they would do. If they heard that there was a house that was haunted, or rumors of a house being haunted, Ed would go over there with a sketch and do a beautiful painting, and then send Lorraine up and knock on the door. She said, "My husband loves haunted houses." And would you like this painting? And that would get their foot in the door, and they said, "This is what we do," and boom, they have an investigation. So they claim to have had 10,000 investigations over the course of their career, which went from the late 50s up until when Lorraine passed away, in 2018, I think. 2018 or 19, she passed away.
Yeah.
I probably have it here.
She was semi-retired, I think, at
Right.
the end of her life, but
2019, yeah. So I just heard knocking over there,
I
but
did
there's people
too.
over there, yeah.
no, there's not. There's no one there.
No, I know that there's nobody there, but there's people on the other side.
Oh, okay. Are they still in the garage?
I think they're in and out all night. We're having an experience right now, possibly, but who knows? Who knows?
So they were both Roman Catholic.
Mhm.
Maybe that's why Ed felt drawn to become a demonologist.
Right, and devout Catholics too. They were
Yes.
very, um, they were very, very into their religion, and especially Ed. And they both were equally
Mhm.
involved, and so a lot of their investigations really had a religious bent towards them.
Right, demons.
Too many.
Exorcisms.
Too many,
things like
in
that.
my opinion. But all right, let's see where else we got up to. 10,000 cases. And well, let's start talking about their cases.
Right,
They've
so
got
the
a couple of high
Amityville
Amityville Horror.
most famous,
All right.
probably the most famous of their cases was the Amityville Horror, which has since been debunked. I remember reading the book and being terrified,
Yeah. I saw the movie in like 1979 at a drive-in. Right there.
Scary, right, yeah, because it seemed so plausible, I mean, murders in the house, those did occur, the DeFeo murders did occur.
Yeah, Ron DeFeo went in and walked into the house in the early morning or late night with a rifle and shot all the members of his family while they were sleeping in bed. Everyone. And I think he just kind of like sat down and let the police come.
Yeah. Well, he had been out drinking with a friend earlier.
Well, the friend was involved.
I don't know. Yeah.
If anybody knows.
So then, so after that, the story goes that the house was empty, and then it was sold at a greatly reduced price to the Lutz family.
So George Lutz and his family, right?
Who moved in and started to experience things and called the Warrens, and the Warrens came.
Right, they claim that the house was so haunted that after 28 days, the entire family just kind of ran out, got in the car, and went wherever they went, to a motel or a hotel, left all their possessions, left everything there. And it got a lot of press. I remember it. I grew up out on Long Island, not too far from Amityville. In fact, when we started driving, all the kids would start to drive, we would, get a date with a girl and go to the Amityville Horror House. And
the windows like eye.
Yeah, and beautiful house, beautiful area, Amityville. Beautiful.
Yes, and right on like the river. Yeah.
And so, I'm sure the people that are living there, I wonder if they probably bought that thing first.
Well, they changed those windows. They replaced them, they were sort of shaped recently, like that. So the house does not look the same now.
No.
Not recognizable.
And one of their first big cases was in 1971 in Rhode Island, which is now the Conjuring House.
Right, right.
And I think the Conjuring House, I think the Conjuring House is the house that threw the Warrens out. I'm not sure. If somebody knows, tell me I'm an idiot and that I'm wrong, or tell me that I'm a genius and that I was right. But the Conjuring House, now this family, they were the Perron family, and they were experiencing lots and lots of stuff. And when the Warrens got there, they thought it was a witch that had been on the land before the house was even built, before the property was even.
Is that
sold.
was it this Bathsheba? Was that the entity that they named Bathsheba?
Yeah, it might be. That sounds familiar.
Mhm.
And yeah, see, that's the thing. That's the thing when, and I don't mean to start going off on a tangent. Warrens went to my college roommate. Susan, hey, Susan, Warrens went to my college roommate's house. Oh, cool. Well, that's very cool. Where was it, Susan? Maybe we could maybe look up like a case file. The Warrens, you know, Ed Warren recorded all his investigations. He always had a tape recorder, and now you can go and you can hear these tapes that they have. And some of the tapes are really, really cool because they'll have tapes going on. As long as they're in the house, Ed would hit record before they were walking into the house. So everything was recorded. Now they would always investigate. They would have police there, firemen there. They would try and bring in as many professionals as they could, priests, and so you hear all of them on the recordings, and you can hear things moving around on the recordings and people reacting and being startled, which is really, really cool. But unfortunately for me, all of the most of the famous cases that you hear about with the Warrens, there's always a little doubt for me. And where, you know, a poltergeist case, excuse me, one of their first major cases that really sort of put them on the map was a poltergeist case in Connecticut. And it got a lot of press. Ed was really, really savvy with getting promoting what they were doing. And they got the news, and within, you know, the poltergeist phenomena started happening on a Friday, and by Sunday it was international news. And people had been reporting, the police reported that, yes, I saw a refrigerator kind of walk itself out of the kitchen and through a hallway. They were seeing reclining chairs opening and closing on their own and then flipping over. And these are policemen, these are priests that are witnessing this, and you can hear it all happening on tape. So it's fascinating, fascinating, and really, really cool.
So, but wait, so here's my question. So if there's all that evidence on tape, why are they ultimately, so many people consider them frauds?
Well,
because that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, it's true that they are generally now regarded as frauds.
As well, you know, fraud is a tough word, but that's what people call them. I don't know. I met Lorraine once. I don't think I met Ed. I met Lorraine once, and she couldn't have been more lovely. Tiny little lady. And it was maybe about 10 years before she passed away. 8 to 10 years before she passed away. And so, yeah, she was semi-retired, and it was with a group of people, and she was there. Very, very lovely lady. I think a lot of people, they were so nice and so good and never took money for what they did. They wrote books, they went to colleges, they did lots and lots of lectures. I don't know if everything that they investigated was truly a haunting, but I don't believe they were lying. I believe they believed all of it was really happening.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So
yeah, I don't think they were trying to pull the wool over anybody's eyes. I don't know. I don't get that from reading case files, from the people, you know, I know lots of people who knew them, and they all say the highest, you know, held them in the highest regard, but they also then would whisper in my ear going, no, no. But they weren't lying. They believed it
right
100%. And they did a lot of good for a lot of people, because I'm sure they put a lot of people at ease.
Yes.
You know, these are the only people in the game at the time.
Well, I think too, let me say something about this. If you're experiencing something in your home, and you're validated by someone,
Mhm.
right? Or someone at least recognizes like, yes, this must be very disturbing after you've been dismissed by everyone that you've tried. I mean, the Warrens were kind of like a last resort for people after they had gone to the police or after they had gone to their local priest or whatever.
Mhm.
Only because they were not, no one really took the claims seriously is when they call in the Warrens.
Yeah, and that's got to be I know when people call me in, they just want to hear that they're not crazy.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
And you've got a lot of crazy paranormal investigators out there who will say anything to get a return visit or, just something to put on their website, say, look how amazing we are. I don't think that was the Warrens. There was, the technology wasn't there for, the masses to find out about them. It was all, maybe you got them on the news around Halloween time.
Right, news, maybe books,
Mhm.
word of mouth, but none of the instantaneous exposure that we have these days.
Right.
What about Annabelle? I
Annabelle,
gotta say, that really freaks me out. Dolls generally freak me out,
yeah.
but the story of Annabelle scares me. And I have this like, I really want to go see Annabelle,
Mhm.
but I'm scared to do so.
Why?
Like in Robert the Doll, I'm also scared to
Key
go
West?
see Robert the
Yeah.
Doll.
Robert
Yeah,
in
Robert
Key
the
West.
Doll actually scares me much more than Annabelle does.
I was in Key West and I didn't go see Robert the Doll. I don't know why. I might have been drinking.
Mm. Well, I don't think Robert the Doll would not have liked that.
No.
He's
Why not?
very particular. Well, he does terrible things to you if you like take his picture without asking him, or if you make fun of him, or you try to like do a selfie with him or whatever. Like, there are stories of people doing things like that and then getting in terrible car accidents or like all their possessions go up in flames or things like that.
Mm.
I think he's pretty substantiated. And then the Annabelle story, like, was there ever actual proof of Annabelle,
Well, he
of Annabelle's antics? Like, we know we have Annabelle.
right,
She's
and
there.
I think it came from two roommates.
Two nurses.
Okay,
The one nurse's mother had given her this doll.
it's a Raggedy Ann doll.
It's a Raggedy Ann doll. It's not like the movie. It's nothing like the doll in the movie.
Mhm.
It's a Raggedy Ann doll. And then all of a sudden, Annabelle, the doll, started to move around the apartment. Like they'd go to work and they'd come home and find her in another location. And then I think she attacked one of the nurse's boyfriends.
All right.
And that's when they called the Warrens, and the Warrens came and took her away and put her behind glass
Right,
in
in the
their
glass case.
museum with a sign saying, "Do not break the glass."
Right, and the Warrens had one child, a girl whose name I think is June,
Mhm.
and they told her you're not supposed to go there. Now the Warrens, as an extension of their house in Connecticut, had they called it the Museum of the Occult, and from all their apparently 10,000 cases, they had souvenirs or things that people weren't comfortable with having in their home, and the Warrens would take them. So they had them all in this museum, and Annabelle is, in a corner somewhere behind glass with a sign that says, don't touch, don't look at. And they told their daughter, if you go to the museum, you can't look at her. Don't look at her in the eye. And to this day, she's probably in her 50s, 60s,
The
maybe.
daughter.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And she still gets creeped out when she talks about it. So I don't
Yeah.
know if she just kind of programmed to believe that,
Mhm.
but interesting nonetheless. Now on the show,
Mhm.
Paranormal Caught on Camera, Sunday nights at 9 on the Travel Channel.
Featuring.
Yeah. We get a lot of clips with dolls,
Yeah.
and we're always asked, how can an object be haunted?
Right.
And we believe that objects could be haunted because the merchant's house, I believe, is haunted. And what is a house if not just a giant object? So it doesn't have to be anything that you have on you or a doll. It can be a house. It can be a person. We're objects. So,
Yeah,
where was I going with this?
with the dolls, paranormal.
Right, so
camera.
we get lots of video of dolls, and some of it is pretty compelling. Some of it
Doing
is,
what?
and I hope the producers aren't watching, some of it is just, you can see the string on them
Uh-huh.
and or something is being moved from off camera, but some stuff,
Like what?
just when a doll moves with purpose, but it's not over the top. It's not flying out of the shelf. And
Uh-huh.
but when a doll, it just moves. And sometimes they'll say, if you're a lot of people might bring a doll in as a trigger object. Trigger object being something that maybe, if there are reports that a house is haunted with children, maybe bring in some toys.
Oh,
And a doll
okay.
as a trigger object, and you ask, can you interact with this doll, and you'll see the doll move. We get videos like that, and how does a doll become possessed? I think, or haunted. I think that it's about an emotional attachment,
Mm,
and somebody who cares about this object, whatever it could be. It could be a baseball mitt or a doll, and they've invested so much love and energy and time and commitment into whatever object it is that of course there's going to be something left over.
well, that's what happened with Robert the doll. The child who was given
You have
Robert the
problems
doll.
with Robert
I
the
do. So I do. The child who was given Robert the doll, a boy, it was a
Yeah.
boy,
All right.
became obsessed with Robert the doll and walked around with it. The boy grew up, got married, and still kept Robert the doll. And I think
Wow.
the wife left him because of his obsession with Robert the doll. Yeah, I feel like I've seen clips of like China dolls, with the fake eyelashes, like the big eyelashes opening and closing on their own. That's frightening.
Yeah, dolls are creepy. I did an investigation with a bunch of friends out in New Jersey, and it was a gentleman. He was a train operator, and like freight train, those long lines of trains like a mile long. And unfortunately, a young boy committed suicide on the track, but they had seen him from a ways away,
Okay.
and they were slowing the train down.
Uh-huh.
But one of those gigantic trains, it doesn't just stop on a dime.
Right.
And so this guy, I don't want to say his name. We'll say Artie. Um, he was in the front of the train, and he was going to try and push the kid off the tracks. That's how slow the train was going.
Mhm.
And the kid just kind of crawled under and got
Oh.
rolled over. Turns out then this gentleman started seeing the boy around his house and called us in, and he had a whole room full of dolls. I mean, it's
Mhm.
bad enough that you come into a house where he actually had pictures of this kid that
Wow.
were left. I kind of know how he got them, but we showed up. He was in a tuxedo.
He was in a
He
tuxedo?
was in a tuxedo. Yeah, he was in a tuxedo, and he had food for us, which was great.
That's nice.
But he had a
What kind of food?
it was like Dunkin' Donuts and that
Oh,
kind
okay.
of coup d'etat.
Yeah, still.
But I love that you asked what kind of food. I would have done the same thing.
Well, I mean,
I would have done the same thing.
like, was it like
No, it wasn't like a
sandwiches?
sit-down meal, but
Was it like a buffet?
he had snacks, which is
Okay.
more, any paranormal investigators out there watching know that when you do an investigation, nobody treats you good. Nobody.
Really? You think they want you to come into the house?
Yeah, well, yeah, they want you to come into the house, but they don't want to pay, and they don't. And I've never charged. I've never charged for an investigation. I've never charged for anything to do with paranormal, except for the show.
Mhm,
Except for
mhm,
the show.
mhm.
And I'd have done that for free.
Yeah.
But
Don't tell the producer
he's not watching.
that.
I guarantee you. Anyway, that's the deal with Annabelle, right? Annabelle,
Yeah, Annabelle.
Raggedy Ann doll. Another interesting case, and it was a big thing for Ed Warren. He testified in court a couple of times,
Uh-huh.
and he really wanted to get on the books that ghosts were real.
Uh-huh.
So in two of the cases that I'm familiar with, one of them being, and we were going to talk about it, there's a movie, The Devil Made Me Do It,
The
or
Devil on Trial.
The Devil
It's
on
about
Trial.
It's actually about a story of a child who was possessed, and then the devil hopped from him to his sister's boyfriend.
Right,
And
right.
then
They were,
his sister's boyfriend killed somebody, but went to trial and said that he was possessed. He doesn't remember actually killing the person.
right,
He like blacked out.
right.
And apparently the church believed him.
Mhm.
And when the case went to trial and he was found guilty, actually, and the judge said, well, there is no evidence of possession. We do not believe that he was possessed. There were like 6 priests at the trial, and they got up and they walked out.
Yeah, yeah. And it's so ironic, and it's the way law is in this country, and I'm sure in any other country, and well, we do have the greatest country in the world, and the laws are there to protect, and for the most part, they're doing a pretty good job. But in this case, where the judge was refusing to acknowledge the devil and saying that I don't want to be the first judge to to give let somebody off not guilty because the devil made me do it, because he didn't believe in it and thought it was all crazy. But you have to put your hand on the Bible to testify in court.
Mhm.
So
Right,
it's
right.
it's hypocritical. And if you're gonna have somebody put their hand on a Bible because you believe in God, you have to also, if you believe in God, you also have to believe in the devil. And
They just don't believe in possession. That's what they
Yeah.
don't believe in.
I don't know if I believe in
I do. I
Really?
totally do.
Okay.
There is a great book. It's written by M. Scott Peck. I think I've talked about this before.
Mhm.
What is it called? The title will come back to me. But he was a psychiatrist, and he was a rationalist. He
Mhm.
was an atheist, and he was called in to assist to be the psychiatrist on staff for a couple of exorcisms, and he said, "I am a 100% believer."
Yeah. I assisted on a Catholic Church sanctioned exorcism,
Mhm.
where the bishop said, okay,
Yeah,
do one.
you told me about this.
And one of the many people that have to be there, you have to have 2 people to basically be like bouncers.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
if things get wild or out of control, you have to safely be able to secure the person and keep them from harming themselves or anybody else. And it was in the Bronx, and there was a psychiatrist, a doctor, a priest. That was just the way it was supposed to be done. And I saw some pretty crazy things, but nothing. It was all poltergeist activity to me, and I think that was coming from the stress. I believe the girl and their family. It was a girl, and she was 15, 16, and I believe she believed she was possessed, and she was getting a lot of positive reinforcement that she was possessed from her family, just like Roland, the original Exorcist story, the young boy. His family pretty much wanted him to be possessed because they were trying to find money that the aunt left somewhere. Anyway, so I believe that you can believe you're possessed, and I believe that can cause things to happen, but I don't know that it's the devil inside a person.
You
I
should
could be wrong.
really read this book. Okay, so I remember the title, Glimpses of the Devil,
All
it's
right.
called.
I read it. I love
Actually,
reading.
one of the
They're
things
scary.
he says is that people who are truly possessed say that they're not possessed.
Right. Yeah.
They're not like, I'm possessed. They will deny that they're possessed.
Right. Because they're not, and especially in a diabolical possession, or what's the complete possession where the person's not going to come back. I forget the phrase that demonologists like Ed Warren and others use, but like a full possession where it's just happened, it's done.
Right.
And exorcism is not going to help. But yeah, I believe.
But is that really true though? Is anyone ever totally so far?
I mean, from the reading I've done, and again, it's just I've read the same books most people have, and that's what I remember from some of the research I've done. Because demonology, while I'm not a big believer in it, I'm more agnostic. And
why don't you explain exactly what demonology is, and let's also stress that you cannot go to school for this.
Well, you can go to seminary school because
Right.
it's but But yeah, you can't go take a class at the Rhine Research Institute, demonology,
No.
they would laugh at. Demonology, and I'm sure it's very different for every demonologist, but they're not priests. They're not sanctioned by a church. Although I think Ed Warren worked with churches a lot, and I
He
think
did.
they kind of were like, if anybody's going to call themselves a demonologist, this guy
He's legit.
is as close as you can get without being ordained
Okay.
and being an exorcist. Ed, he might have called himself. Yeah, I think he might have, because he performed exorcism.
Yeah.
But
He
so-
identified too. That's another thing that he did.
Well,
He identified possession,
Oh,
right?
right.
Like he would go, like he is the one with the case, the devil on trial. He's the one that went there and said, this is a case of possession.
right. See, my only problem with that is it was always a demon. It was always a demon.
Uh-huh.
It was, I mean, the Amityville Horror was filled with, Amityville House, the house in Amityville, filled with demons.
You don't believe in demons either?
No,
Really?
no, yeah,
I do.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I believe in bad people. I believe in bad spirits. If you're an asshole during, when you're alive and you come back when you're dead, I'm sorry, you're gonna be an asshole. So I don't know if that's it. And I honestly, truly believe people believe it.
Yeah.
And I think so what's the difference? If you truly believe you're possessed by the devil and your body is manifesting blisters and scars, if you're speaking in a language you've never heard or in a language other people around you don't understand, if you really believe you're possessed, maybe you are, and it doesn't have to be the devil. It can be the devil inside yourself.
Right.
And what you
Right.
perceive to be a devil, and it's going to happen. So, I don't know. What do you guys think? We got this thing here where you can send us a little note.
So let's talk a little bit more about Ed and Lorraine.
All right.
So there actually was an allegation of sexual abuse leveled at Ed.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it wasn't a situation where, it was a situation where it was a long-term affair that apparently started when the person was a minor.
Right. I think she was 15, and
Yeah.
Ed was probably young too. I'm not giving him an excuse at all. But it wasn't like, he was sneaking into the boys' room while nobody was looking and doing things.
Right. And apparently Lorraine was fine with this.
Right.
It wasn't like it happened behind her back.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of crazy. Yeah. So, but they were human,
Right.
they were regular people and, had flaws just like regular people. And so, yeah, it's hard to judge who can, which I can't judge them. I certainly can't judge them. And yeah, but there were a lot of these stories swirling around, and you have to, if you're not going to be judgmental, you have to listen and with an open mind and understand that okay, this person is devout Catholic, calls himself a demonologist, but he's a human being and he's going to have all the flaws that human beings have.
Mm-hmm. What do you think
About
them? Do you think they were legit?
Again, like I said, with people who believe they're possessed, I believe, yes, they're legit.
Okay.
They're 100% legit. And they did paranormal investigations. I've gone on investigations where I believe the house is haunted, and 1,000 people might disagree with me and say, you know what, Dan, you just want it to be haunted. That's why you believe it. And I think there's probably some of that going on with Ed and Lorraine. And I'm sure, this is how they made their living. And maybe sometimes you have to gild the lily a little bit. And just to keep the ball rolling. But I do believe that they were great paranormal investigators. They really paved the way for people like us.
They made it mainstream. They brought it into the public consciousness. And maybe it's because they were this nice married couple that they lent an air of legitimacy.
Yeah, and and they were cute.
Right,
They
they
were
were.
little.
Lorraine was cute and sweet. I actually love the Conjuring movies. I love the actors who were chosen
Pat
to
Wilson
play
and Vera from
Farmiga. Yeah.
So,
Oh, they're really
I love
good. I think they're really, really good as them.
Vera's my type. You watching Vera? No? All right.
She's married.
No.
Her little sister is on the Gilded Age.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Mhm.
Well, cool. Yeah, so those are cool movies. They don't look anything like Ed and Lorraine.
No, they
but
don't. They look much more,
you know,
much more attractive
yeah,
than
Not that
real
Ed and Lorraine were unattractive.
Mhm.
Not Matilda's type, obviously.
Well,
but
I think Ed is like Ed. I find Ed attractive. I mean, as as an older man, obviously, but yeah, I mean, I look at Ed Warren and I say he's an attractive guy.
so big burly paranormal investigator,
I mean, I think even with all the like bad press, I think I just really like them. I'm always excited to see clips of them.
Right. Well, I'm sorry, I'm just reading some questions. Ashley asks, is there anybody now, investigators, who is comparable to the Warrens and their fame and ability? What? Oh, no. I would say, who would I compare the Warrens to these days? You really can't compare them to anybody. They were I'm sure there are husband and wife teams out there that I don't know. But I would say, for names that we know, I would say the guys on Ghost Hunters.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Really?
They were connected with those guys. I've met those guys a number of times. And while the shows are TV shows, the investigations that they do off air and before the shows came out were legit investigations.
Okay, you would know. Yeah, you would
know. They don't really use psychics or mediums, but I think they're probably in their off-camera investigations. I'm sure they do. But really, they sort of stand. Everybody's standing on the shoulders of like Hans Holzer and I'm having a brain fart, but the Borley Rectory fellow. Damn it!
What's that guy's name?
Yeah,
I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm just having a brain fart, but he was investigating the Borley Rectory in the early 1900s, and he did it with a pen and notebook.
Yes.
And got great results. But as far as who's comparable now, they really sort of they're on their own, and rightfully so. They took this serious. I know a lot of paranormal investigators who I've investigated with, and they're all in. And 2 years later, they didn't get on a TV show or whatever, and they pack it in and they're going to go look for Bigfoot or UFOs. Crazy. And but these guys were in it for decades.
Yeah, 40 years, I think.
Yeah, 40
years
plus.
they were practicing.
And
even in the face of all the criticism and all the efforts to debunk them, they stood by their work and their findings.
Yeah. And while some of the stuff that they put out there as evidence is a little dubious,
Like what?
Videos of things moving and poltergeist effect. I think Ed had and this is all before digital, so it's all on tape and videotape, and that stuff was expensive back then.
Sure.
And surely
no AI.
Surely in the early 70s, you couldn't run out to Best Buy and buy yourself a video camera, handy cam, and so they were really also victims of a lack of technologies to be able to, store a video up in the cloud and have somebody,
But some of the recordings, like I listened to, like some of the recordings of the possessions that they saw, and it's truly scary. Like, I mean, they're audio recordings.
Yeah.
I know you're not.
No, I've listened to a lot of audio recordings of exorcisms, and they're creepy. They're creepy as hell. And again,
I think that was
outside. All right.
Yeah.
Sorry. but yeah, I've been to demonology lectures. I've lectures with John Zappis, and they tell you all these things like, the devil knows you're at this lecture. He knows you're at this lecture, and he's going to send his minions out to check you out and see if what kind of state of mind you're in, and could you be a possible candidate for a possession.
Yeah,
because they want
opening, because
Yeah.
you attended.
Yep,
there's a
yep,
little
yep. I'm
opening.
open to it. And what the devil wants to possess you and get you to commit suicide or kill somebody, because that's the biggest FU to God you can do. So they want to take over. They want you to do horrible things to others and to yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I've been to those lectures and Ouija boards, and don't use a Ouija board, and I'm always the jerk in the audience who raises his hand and says, how come I'm learning this now? Shouldn't that be something that I heard from the jump? As soon as you say, don't touch the stove, don't put your tongue in a light socket, and don't play with Ouija boards. But you don't hear that. And but I tell you, I went to that lecture and I went back to my hotel and I'm laying in my hotel in Philadelphia and I'm going, there's somebody under the bed, and were they really? I left the TV on all night that night, so yeah, there it's fascinating, it's entertaining, and in the last 5 years, I've probably read more demonology books than I have in paranormal investigation books or haunting books. Haven't got a good haunting book in a while, but I've read lots of those, and they're creepy. I just don't believe that it's the devil in somebody. I believe they believe it. Girl in the Bronx was not lying. The family was not lying. I'm a pretty good judge of character, and I can tell when somebody's lying, for the most part, and except for any woman I've dated. And but for the most part, the people, I believe they truly believe that they're possessed.
Right.
And I think when you get something like that in concert with Ed and Lorraine Warren, who are walking in believing they might be encountering demons or the devil, then it's a perfect recipe for, we got the devil in Connecticut. So, I don't know. I was never on any one of those investigations with them, and didn't know them personally at all. But I'm very grateful for the trails they've blazed. And, if not for them, I certainly wouldn't have a little fun time working on a TV show, and there wouldn't be a lot of the other shows that are on TV.
Right.
So they really did a lot of good for a lot of people, including myself and us here at the Merchant's House. We're talking about them, and I certainly would support anybody who wanted to believe that they were demonologists and believed everything that they said. I would support that. I don't disbelieve anything that they said. I just don't believe in their theories.
Right. So
or agree. It's not that I don't believe, I don't agree with them.
So Ed was a quote unquote self-educated demonologist.
Right.
So
but I'm a self-educated paranormal investigator.
if I said to you, Dan, I want to become a demonologist, where would I start?
In the 1300s,
you just study, right?
Yeah, you have to study. You're not going to get a card that says you're a demonologist.
Right.
You're not going to get a diploma that says you're a demonologist.
What are you studying? I'm studying possessions. I'm studying.
I would get books there's a book by Malachi Martin called
I have that book. Yes, I have that book. I have that book.
Yeah, that's a great book.
Yeah.
But I would reach out to a priest.
Yeah. I mean, the Episcopal Church allows exorcisms.
Yeah.
I was on the altar guild in an Episcopal church, and we had some of that oil, right? The special oil that's only used at exorcism.
Well,
I don't know if they have done any or authorized any recently.
Well, Cardinal Dolan he has talked about exorcisms in New York City,
Mhm.
within the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And during the pandemic, there was a big rise in people believing in possession. I think because they were sitting around watching Conjuring movies all day long, and they couldn't go outside.
Or people were kind of going crazy.
Yeah, and you can be, if you're easily influenced and you're lean towards that way anyway, you'd be surprised when you go on a paranormal investigation to somebody's private house and
Mhm.
look at the books and look at their the movies.
Uh-huh.
Really dark, creepy stuff.
Yeah.
Really, really dark, creepy stuff. And, almost you can look at, what they're into, and I can tell what kind of haunting they're going to describe,
Hmm.
and
So they manifest really what they,
they are influenced,
okay.
they're
Yeah.
influenced. And I love going to the houses where people have said, I've never seen a ghost show.
Mhm.
Never seen a ghost show, but look what's happening.
Yeah.
And so, wow, yeah.
Yeah. Well, they were trailblazers. They set the stage for where we are now.
Certainly for where we're sitting right now. So, let's see.
And every single show on the Travel Channel, practically, which is not about travel anymore.
I know.
It's the ghost
I know
channel.
it's travel to the ghost dimension.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is, and thank you for that. And because I got a bunch of checks I got.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, listen, we're getting ready to wind up here. So again, we just want to thank you guys for logging in and sitting with us talking. Much appreciated. But we really, really appreciate you guys going to the website.
Mhm.
Is it the Merchant's House or just Merchant's
Just
House?
merchantshouse.org.
Merchantshouse.org, and find the form, put in your email, sign your name, and it will automatically send a letter to Mayor Adams. And hopefully they can just get off their asses and say, this is a crown jewel in New York City. It's a time capsule and it needs to be protected. It
Mhm.
has to be protected. And it would be not just a physical disaster, but it would be a great, great loss for New York City and for people wanting to come in and see what it was like to live in a house in the 1800s. Everything here at the house is original to the house.
Mhm.
When you come in and you look at the piano, which is in the front parlor, that's the piano the Treadwell girls played on in the 1850s.
Yeah.
And this stuff they drank out of this. This was this is what they were thinking. And hey, Matilda, here's to you.
Stan's amazed.
And
yes.
yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Honestly, I take it for granted after all these years, but that chair is almost 300 years old.
Yeah.
And I sat on that a couple of years ago.
Which you were not supposed to.
No.
Yeah.
But
another thing people should know is that we have Merchant's House has a YouTube channel. All our shows are on the YouTube channel.
Mhm.
All the lectures, all the virtual programs that the Merchant's House has ever done are there free of charge. Behind the scenes tours, talks about New York in the 1830s. So go check it out on YouTube, just the
Yeah.
Merchant's House channel.
Merchant's House is a really, really cool place. It's definitely a one in a million.
Mhm.
There's nothing else like it in New York City. You want to impress somebody, you want to take somebody for a cool hour and a half, little walk around, come down to Merchant's House and look how people lived back in the day. Sit in the backyard on a nice day and drop a couple of bucks in the birdcage on the way out, because it really, really helps. Everything, all the money generated by all the stuff that we're doing, tours, everything goes directly to the Merchant's House. Nobody's getting paid.
Mhm.
We're all volunteers, and I've 17 years, I haven't taken a dime for anything, and I don't want it. Put it all back to the house.
Right.
And on that note, I think we should wrap it up.
Okay.
Get the heck out of here. So
Yeah.
thank you guys for
Yep,
indulging us.
Thank you. Next month, we're gonna have Andrea James will be our
Andrea.
guest.
Love Andrea.
Andrea James is a Poe expert. I interviewed her earlier this year for the
Yeah.
Merchant's House, and she's gonna talk about her book, A History of Haunted Women, and we're gonna in particular talk about whether a house can drive someone crazy. because there's a chapter in the book about a house in New York City
Right.
that has driven people
Oh,
crazy.
yeah, like
Mhm.
10th Street. I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, cool. And
Yeah.
Andrea's the coolest.
Yeah.
She's so smart and a
Yes,
lot of
she'll be
fun.
with us next month. I forget the date, but it'll be on the,
And
Merchants
then,
House
and,
website.
and in the very near future, we might have a special guest,
mhm.
a very special guest with a big connection to the Treadwell.
Oh.
So, there might have to be some vetting,
Yeah.
but yeah, my fingers crossed. I hope she's here. Anyway, thanks,
Okay.
guys,
Bye,
and
everyone. Thank
enjoy
you.
your Friday, and have a great night.
Yeah.
What are you
You too.
doing?
I'm gonna go home. I have to walk my dog.
Are you going to Jersey? You going to?
I'm going to Brooklyn.
Oh, okay.
My boss is actually coming to New York for the weekend, so I'm hosting her.
Oh,
So I
okay.
have to tidy up too.
Take her to the merchant's house. All right, everybody.
Okay.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
Have a great night. And done.
Okay.
Not yet.